Welcome back to another spring evening here in Staten Island at the airfield. Today I want to do something a little bit different. Today I want to talk about Cinewhoops. For a long time I've had a Shendrone Squirt, kind of my last of the group of squirts that I've had. The Shendrone Squirt is a ducted drone, has those big like kind of ducts around each of the props so they're protected, so they can kind of bounce into you and not hurt you. It's great for when you're flying around people, flying around cars, anything you don't want to do damage to. Because if you've seen an FPV drone in flight, you're basically flying a giant blender, which is a little terrifying. Especially when you're flying around people who may not be as comfortable around drones as, say, somebody who's an FPV enthusiast. So with this last squirt, I wanted to do something I've wanted to do for a while, which is convert it to what's called a Slammed Squirt, which basically means you bring it from its current stack height, 40 millimeters, down to a reduced stack height of 25 millimeters. It basically reduces the height, reduces the overall weight, trims down the ducts a little bit more, makes them more focused around the props so they still have the advantage of directing thrust, giving you more performance, but they are not as affected by wind because you don't have as much surface area for the wind to push on. And obviously, again, it being slammed, your center of gravity is a little lower, meaning it handles a little bit better. How much better? Well, we're gonna see. So let's go up, get a first flight in with the Shendrone Squirt in its current configuration with its full-size ducts. Let's get into it now. We're gonna give this a whirl, go for a flight, see how she do. Goggles down, everything recording, taking off. Okay. As you can hear, it is quite loud. So quick overview of this drone. It's a Shendrone Squirt built up with a hobby motor stack, I believe. It's a 20 millimeter stack. I've got a full-size DJI Air unit with the original DJI camera. So the resolution and whatever it's called, dynamic range, is actually pretty phenomenal. I've really liked having the original DJI camera on here just because it gives me a huge amount of confidence flying in darker or transitioning light situations. But as you can see, with the full-size GoPro and the 6S on there, this thing is pretty chunky. I mean, there's a full-size punch, and you can see how wobbly this thing gets. I'm hesitant to even flip it over and try doing some flippy-floppy tricks. I know it can, but I generally don't like to really push that unless I am confident about it being lower weight. So if I don't have a GoPro on it, it can flip, it can flop, but especially when there's a little wind like there is right now, smooth cruisy flights is really all this thing has. A little cruise out here. So the motors are, insert number here, I'm not actually 100% sure. I'm running 3-inch bi-blade bullhead props from Gemfan, which do provide an adequate amount of thrust, but again, it definitely could use more, and it definitely could be a little quieter. So that's part of the reason I'm really thinking I want to change up this last squirt that I have to both a Slam Squirt to save some weight on those ducts and have a better weight distribution, as well as swapping to a multi-fan prop. I'm thinking 5 or 6. That way it's a little quieter and also a little bit more thrust. Because again, you hear it flying by. This thing is squealy and loud. And so when it's on set, when it's in proximity to people when I'm filming, it's just kind of annoying. Honestly, it's annoying to me. So I assume it's annoying to other people who may not be into flying FPV drones. Cruise up here. The shots this thing gets though, that's the one thing I'm so impressed about with this drone, is the shots that I can get with it are pretty next level. For a small package with the ducts and everything else, it does carry. And I put that in pretty extreme quotes, but it does carry a full-size GoPro. And honestly, for that, it does what it needs to do. I just want to try to give it a little bit more performance and a little bit more functionality. Do a little cruise down here. And I'm going to come in for a landing, and this will be the last flight of this drone with the ducts as they currently sit. Next time I take this up, I'm going to have swapped over to the multi-blade props and to converting this into a Slammed Squirt, and we'll see how she flies. And you can see right there the wind. And there we go. That was the flight. It flew as I expected and as I'm familiar with. It flies great, but in windy weather, it struggles a little bit. It's a little heavy on the top, a little off balance, not perfect, but again, that is what that drone is. It is great because it's protected. It's super safe around people, around vehicles, anything that you don't want to hit and break. It is a great drone to fly around. And it can physically carry a full-size GoPro. I just really wouldn't want to. That extra weight makes it feel a little sluggish, a little heavy, and not my favorite to fly. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna change this over to the Slammed Squirt frame kit and ducks, and then I'll be back at this field and we'll go for a second flight. Let's get into it. And we're back. We've got the Slammed Squirt ready to go. Let me get my goggles on, get everything set up to go, and we're gonna go for a flight and see how it flies in comparison. Before we get up in the air, the Slammed Squirt is 44 grams lighter than it was before, part because of the physical standoffs are shorter, there's less hardware, there's less duct on the entire drone, but also I did have to swap from the air unit in that Squirt originally to a Caddx Vista. So there was probably 20 grams worth of weight saving there. So a little cheating, but basically it wouldn't fit with the air unit horizontal with the flight controller and stack that I have. So I just swapped in one of my old Vistas with a Nebula Pro on it. About the same performance, but just wanted to disclose that so that way you know where that weight loss came from completely. So let's get up in the air, see how it flies, and we'll get back to it. Something to note with any Squirt is the physical props can make contact with the ducts. They basically chew away some of the material that's on the duct to give it a better seal and overall thrust characteristic. So you hear a little bit of noise there. Everything's okay, I promise it's fine. I just checked. Let's get up in the air. Whoop. And just like before, it is super windy. Still running the same props as before, literally the same props. And this does feel drastically better. Because it is super windy right now and I am not getting buffeted around like I did in the previous flight. Obviously the Caddx Vista is working fine. I don't know that there's a huge amount of difference between it and the O3 air unit. I will say that this thing is still loud. I don't know if it's coming across in the video, but do a quick flyby. Yeah, it is very, very loud. I don't know that it's all that much different than before, because before it was pretty loud as well. Oh, there's some buffeting. And I don't know that I'm gonna do some flip. Okay, we'll do at least a split S and we'll see how it does. I'm gonna do it over the grass. So that way, if I catch it and it doesn't go well, it's fine. Using about a little less throttle than I think I was using last time. Just gonna wait for the wind to die down a little bit so it's not completely. Ooh, there's some wobbles on a straight down descent, but that's pretty normal. A little bit of buffeting. Again, super windy. The power does feel very good. So flight characteristic wise, I think the Slammed Squirt is a big improvement. Whoa. Don't know what that was. Overall, that was actually pretty successful. It flew extremely well. As you can see that flag right there, it's super, super windy and this handled the wind extremely well. The only downside is I should have changed the props. These props are about a year old and I've had issues with, especially on high kV motors, spinning and letting go. And there we go. That was the first flight, ended in a crash. Kind of sucks, but not the end of the world. Basically what happened is those props are old. I will tell everybody right now, even if your props look perfect, definitely change out your props from time to time, especially if they start to loosen up on you without undoing that bolt. It could mean that there's a fracture in the hub of the prop. It may mean it's just ovalized a little bit. There's something wrong. Swap your props out. They're super cheap. Way better than having your drone drive into the ground. Basically, the front two props on the drone, you'll see in that video, it dropped a little bit at the nose. Both of the props blew off. The hub completely disintegrated. And hey, you can't fly with two missing props. That kind of sucked. If you can't tell already, today's a different day. All that really happened from that crash is I cracked the frame right here, which is non-integral to the function of the frame for this. Overall, I thought it flew fantastic. It flew very well, felt very light, even with the full-size GoPro sitting on the front. Still not comfortable doing flips and spins with this because it's a little off balance when you have the full weight of the GoPro. Putting a GoPro Hero 10 Bones or any other naked GoPro or lighter camera on it would make me feel super, super comfortable doing flips, rolls, spins, all of that. Because I've actually taken this out and flown it now without a camera on it, and it does freestyle very well. So now, once again, still windy like the last time I flew this, I'm gonna switch these props out, especially the ones that were broken, and I'm going to put on some 5-blade props. Specifically, these guys right here from GemFan. They're 5-blade, they're super pink because I like when stuff kind of clashes real hard. So it's gonna look pretty sick on here. Let me get them on and then we'll get up in the air. 5-bladed props are on board. Let's get up in the air and see how she flies. Up and flying. I'm gonna throw this out here right now. It sounds fantastic. The overall sound profile is so much quieter than it was with those bullnose props on it. And I like kind of how it feels. It just doesn't feel quite like the 3 blades do. I don't know if the 3-blade props are just stiffer. Woo! Save my bacon there. But from a sound perspective, doing a little orbit here, so much quieter than those 3-blade props. But I think there has been a sacrifice in overall feel of the drone, and it just doesn't feel quite as aggressively punchy and responsive as I want for my Cinewhoop. So I think overall, flies okay. And obviously sound, I love it. If I ever need to fly this thing quietly, I will definitely be rolling some 6-blade props. But I think overall, not 100% sold on it. Overall, I think it's a good change, but it's not something I want on there every day. And there was our last flight. Overall, that was definitely the shortest. It didn't feel as good as the previous two. I think personally, I love how the Slammed Squirt flies in comparison to the full-sized V2.1 Squirt. I think just the lighter, smaller ducts, everything else being a little bit more compact, a little bit more balanced as far as weight goes, especially if I was to rock a naked GoPro on it. I think that Squirt actually flies incredibly well. And just so you're aware, it's been running Betaflight 4.4.1 this whole time, so it is the most modern version of Betaflight, which I attribute a little bit to its flight performance overall. That Squirt really is a fantastic flyer, and I think having flown it now with the multi-blade, the 5-blade props, I think I like the 3-blade props better. Yes, they are way noisier. Yes, they're kind of annoying and screechy, but I feel like the way it punches and the way it moves and the way it carries its weight is a little better. I guess there's just more deflection in those 6-bladed props. I think with the more open ducts on stuff like the Terraplane, those multi-blade props do function a little better because they've got a little bit more room to move around. With the Squirt, you're basically having, with the Squirt, that prop is basically butted up against that TPU duct, and it really doesn't have a lot of places to move, which I think impacts its overall performance and is more of a liability than it is a benefit. For me, I think my ideal current Cinewhoop is that Shendrone Squirt slammed down with Drone Co. Productions Slam Squirt kit. Link down below in the description if you want to pick one up for yourself. That said, if you're new to this hobby and you want to get into flying a Cinewhoop, I wouldn't recommend either. I think in a professional setting, that Squirt is fantastic. I think you're better off served by something like the Cinebot 30 or GepRC Cinelog 35 or the iFlight, I think it's the ProTech 35 or 35, whatever it is. I think those pusher style Cinewhoop quads do have the added performance. Actually, and I would even throw the Terraplane. If you want to build something custom, the Shendrone Terraplane, absolutely mint. It's so good. It's so quick. It is phenomenally quick compared to the Squirt. And I will say the same for the GepRC and the Cinebot. I think both of those are quick, they feel agile, they're sharp, they're nimble, and I think that's what you really want from a Cinewhoop. So, getting completely around to it, for me personally, I'm gonna keep that Cinewhoop, that Slammed Squirt in my kit. I love it to death. It has some history for me personally, and I'm a sentimental person. With all that said, thank you for joining me in this video. As always, links below down in the description for everything that I use in making this video, as well as all the kit that I usually use to fly FPV drones. Those are affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything, but does give a kickback to this channel, which I then put into more review content. So if you like it, please hit those links, support me doing this, and I greatly appreciate it. Down in the comments, please let me know what Cinewhoops you've flown. Let me know what Cinewhoops you've flown and how you like them. What do you like? What don't you like? Do you like the pusher style, or do you like the more traditional non-pusher style drone? I'm not sure actually what to call the non-pusher style drones, but never had to think about it before. If you like this video, please leave a like below, and then also hit that subscribe button. Helps me in the algorithm, helps more people find this video, especially if you've enjoyed this content. It's really appreciated. As always, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye. I'm gonna grab my coffee. Oh, that's a dirty, dirty, dirty demi-bot. Yes, flying over vegetation, your drones get super dirty. Super, super dirty. And this is my full kit for coming out and filming a video. Fits into these nice things completely. And then obviously, what YouTuber's kit would be complete without oh yeah, some iced coffee. Commenteer, great little service. Link down in the description below. Not sponsored, but love the service.